Hello and welcome. This is a battle report for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Today's scenario is called
Error. System malfunction.
and it was released as a promotion from the latest ModCon stream. It's Ghouls vs. Ghouls as Sinjin's raiders try out a new toy against Wiseman and the inhabitants of the Slog. The skirmish is taking place in the exterior parking lot of Nuka World. A ticket booth, fountain, and park maps mark the entrance to the park, and several long-abandoned vehicles have rusted in place just outside it. To that end, I used the Nuka World exterior regional table from the Nuka World expansion. It's quite handy in that you no longer need to spend extra time putting together different wasteland decks. The scenario is taking place only on a 2-foot by 2-foot field, so only the tiled area is the playable space. The other larger mat is underneath just to cover up my dirty table. Sinjin's raider force has reprogrammed the n.i.r.a robot, which was originally tasked with guiding visitors around the park. Now the friendly-looking, or creepy, depending on who you ask, automaton has some hidden subroutines added to make her a bit more hazardous. Their plan is to use her as bait to entice groups of travelers and then ambush them. Their objective in this scenario is to have n.i.r.a deliver 4 insults to the enemy force, 1 per model. Each of them has their own unique effect, and each one has to be applied at least once. Following that, n.i.r.a also has to survive to the end of round 6. If she's able to get off all 4 insults, but gets knocked out, then it's only a tie. The Raiders' force is fairly light on upgrades. Sinjin is leading, of course, and carrying a .44 revolver. Due to his special rule, it is also silenced, but I forgot to pull that card out of storage. Don't ask me how a revolver is silenced, these are game rules. Alongside him, he has a Scaver Outlaw and a Raider Outlaw, and they each have only a bolt-action pipe pistol. Finally, we include n.i.r.a in our force. Her combat skills are abysmal, but that's not her role in this endeavor. The passing by travelers are a group of unique ghouls from the Slog. They heard about good scavenging at Nuka World, and a functional robot would be a big haul, so they're caught in the trap. Wiseman is leading the group, carrying a bolt-action pipe pistol and a nail board. Jones, the heavy hitter, has a switchblade and a junk jet. Arlen Glass, the technical genius, has a 10mm pistol and a machete. Rounding out the group, Deidre has a baseball bat and a pipe pistol. 4 investigation markers are placed on the field, and my scatter token literally pointed in each cardinal direction in turn, which was a bit spooky, honestly. But there they go out now. The Slog's forces set up in a tighter formation, wanting to make use of Wiseman's ability to share his luck tokens. The Raiders start out with Sinjin and n.i.r.a on the left flank, the Scaver Outlaw in the middle, pushing for the center, and then the Raider Outlaw on the right. The scenario description didn't say anything about which side should start with advantage, so I rolled a die, and the Raiders pick it up for turn 1. Now we've got some business that needs finishing. The Scaver Outlaw jets forward and reveals the first searchable. It's a free tire iron. Makes sense, given all the cars that are around here. He probably won't need a melee weapon, but maybe he can pass it off to someone else. With his second action, he starts climbing up the ladder to get into position on top of the bus. Deidre goes for an item as well, and gets a pipe pistol, which he's already carrying. Oh well. The Raider Scaver moves up as well, but can't quite reach the item, so hangs back a little bit to stay in cover. Wiseman activates next, moving up and taking a prepare token. He rolled the defensive result on his AI table, but with no way to actually defend anyone at this moment, it seemed to make the most sense. Next up is n.i.r.a, who uses 2 movement actions to get into presence range of Deidre, and is fortunately just shy of being within perception and firing range of Wiseman. Jones moves up and takes a shot at n.i.r.a with a junk jet, but the hypersonic trash crashes into the bench that she's standing behind. I realize now that I could have used one of Wiseman's luck tokens to try to make it a hit, but he only gets 4 of those, so maybe it's better to save them for a better shot. This one was at long range, so it wasn't really likely to do any damage, especially not with any extra getting rolled. Sinjin activates next, and is just within presence range of n.i.r.a, which lets him use a special scenario-specific rule to activate one of her subroutines. He does have to pass a presence skill test, and the first one fails, but the second one does make it. n.i.r.a turns towards Deidre, and instead of cheerful guidance to the park's attractions, says,
"You miserable, dung-sniffing dirt scratcher!"
which stuns her. It's not every day you get insulted by a friendly-looking walking cola bottle robot. Along with the stun token, I also added a fancy target token to indicate that Deidre was insulted, since the same model can't be insulted twice. On the other side of the action, Arlen Glass moves up into cover and takes a shot downrange into the Raider Outlaw. Despite his fairly poor pistol skills, he gets enough to hit her through cover and rolls a big 4 damage hit. However, with the extra armor she gets from being behind the car, she saves 3 and only takes 1. I guess the bullet glanced off the hood of the car and only grazed her. And that's the end of turn 1. One insult delivered and the bullets have started flying, but this is only the beginning. For turn 2, the random event is a lucky find. One random model gets an item, either immediately if they're not engaged in melee, or dropped nearby if they are. Wiseman is the lucky recipient, and since he's not engaged, he happens to find a still unopened Nuka-Cola underneath the park map. Bully for him. Since both sides have 4 models each, and the Raiders had advantage last turn, it swings over to the Slog this turn. Deidre goes first, shakes off the shock of the insult, and takes a shot at n.i.r.a. However, it doesn't connect. n.i.r.a goes next and moves up from one piece of bench cover to the next. Wiseman gets off a reaction shot, but it goes wide. She's now in presence range of both Wiseman and Jones, and drops her next insult onto the Ghouls leader.
Start walking, you pathetic waste of flesh!
This lets me perform a move action with Wiseman. There's not too much I really need him to do, so I just push him away from Jones so he can't use Wiseman's luck. Now he's out of cover too. Even without Wiseman's luck, Jones charges into n.i.r.a. His stab with the switchblade nearly connects, but it's a few inches off and hits nothing. Sinjin steps up to keep n.i.r.a. in presence range and tries to use the tampered action again to let n.i.r.a. drop another insult, but his attempt fails. He does get a prepared token out of it though. Wiseman takes a shot into the melee with n.i.r.a. and Jones, but the first one is a critical failure. The second one is a hit, but hits Jones by accident. He blocks one with regular armor and takes the second one on the strong armor token for being a unique survivor model. I'm pretty sure the Ghouls still get that. The Scavenger Outlaw summits the broken down bus and takes a shot down at Deidre but misses by a country mile. Seeing a new target who's not in cover, Arlen shifts and fires at the Scavenger Outlaw. His first shot connects, and even though 2 damage gets blocked by armor, 1 does get through. The token is behind the model in this picture, but don't worry, it's there. His second shot ends his surprising streak of hits, deflecting off the rear of the bus. As the final activation for the turn, the Raider Outlaw moves up and hopes to uncover something good. She instead finds a nuka-cola cup and straw. Hooray. And that's a wrap on turn 2. Another insult deployed and more damage is starting to accumulate, but now everyone's really starting to get into the thick of things. The event for turn 3 is Runaway Brahmin? That's right, a harness-wearing Brahmin pops out of the bus it was using for shelter and hurtles across the battlefield. No owner, but dragging with it the remnants of a cart, dropping a couple of crates. 3 new searchables get added to the board, scattered from the center. 1 at red distance, 1 at green, and 1 at blue. It's the Raiders' turn to get advantage, so Sinjin activates first. His 2 attempts at using the presence expertise fail, but the second one only misses by 1, and he has luck. So I try my luck, and he gets it. So n.i.r.a. gets to drop her 3rd insult.
Maybe I should solve my little problem permanently.
She gets to make a close combat attack against Jones, and it's a powerful slap. However, it's about as powerful as it is inaccurate. She smacks a big new dent into the metal bench. But doing damage isn't really the goal with her. She uses the post-attack shift move to get a little bit closer to the only ghoul she hasn't insulted yet, and it's not even her turn. Deidre charges into n.i.r.a. and takes a swat with a baseball bat. I forgot to add a green die for outnumbering, but she gets the hit anyway. n.i.r.a. takes both damage. n.i.r.a. also does not care about this melee at all though. She wanders away from combat, taking 2 parting shots, neither of which land. Staring down Arlen, she says,
Too hopped up on chems to understand English?
The effect of this is that AI models will now prioritize non-n.i.r.a. models when attacking. This one is a bit tricky for me, because unlike the other ones, it doesn't specify how the insult is to be applied. 2 of them had to be in presence range, and 1 had to be in base-to-base contact. I assume that this one had to be in presence as well. It's also a bit of a letdown if you play the scenario in PvP mode, as it would have no effect. Fortunately for me though, I am playing against the AI, so this is perfect. Now that all 4 insults have been applied, I can't lose the scenario. If n.i.r.a. goes down before the end of turn 6, it will just be a tie. If she makes it through the end, then it's a win. Good thing the AI won't prioritize her now. To that end, Jones turns his junk jet on the Scavenger Outlaw on top of the bus and lets loose a coffee mug which catches him at the temple for 2 more damage. The junk jet cycles again and sends an empty Nuka-Cola bottle directly between the Scavenger Outlaw's eyes and knocks him out. He drops that tire iron he'd picked up earlier, which is a shame for me because I wanted him to pass it to the Raider Outlaw below him. Even without a melee weapon, she charges Arlen and tries to pistol whip him, an improvised attack. However, he deflects the blow with his wrench and takes no damage. Despite having a melee weapon, his melee skill is abysmal, so Arlen just takes a step back and fires at point-blank range. The Outlaw's improvised reaction attack fails miserably. His shot is good and nets him a prepare token. One damage gets blocked on armor, and the second one gets through. Wiseman goes next, and because the bench is within orange range of him, it doesn't even count as cover for the raider, so his first shot hits and gets another point of damage through. The second one is a crit fail that gives a prepare token, which draws round 3 to a close. All insults have been distributed, and the AI is now going to focus on non-NIRA units, which is good because she only has 5 HP left, and I need her to last for the next 3 turns. However, the Raiders lost their second best shooter, and the Raider Outlaw is pretty perforated at the moment, so they're running a bit short on manpower. The Slog's forces are relatively untouched, physically. Whether or not the emotional damage will heal is another story. The event for turn 4 is a passing swarm of bloatflies. No movement can go further than yellow distance. Not that that's necessary for the time being. The Raiders get to keep the advantage now that they have fewer models on the board. So the Raider Outlaw activates first and charges Arlen. He uses his prepare token to take a swat, but because it's a quick action, it doesn't hit. Unfortunately for her though, her attack doesn't land either. Since n.i.r.a. is deprioritized and the Raider Outlaw is too far away, Jones advances on Sinjin. His shot hits and Sinjin's armor fails, but fortunately for him, his luck holds out and he avoids the damage. Knowing that she's not a target priority, n.i.r.a. charges into Wiseman, knowing that he'll shift focus onto the Raider Outlaw on his turn. He does get to use his prepare token to take a reaction swing, but crit fails, which is good because it would have broken all her armor and gotten another point of damage through. Her powerful slap actually connects, catching Wiseman upside the head. His armor roll fails, as does his luck, so he loses his strong armor token and takes 2 damage to boot. n.i.r.a. moves up so that Sinjin won't get cover against her shot and fires away with a pipe pistol. Even though the shot was clear, it was not true. Unhappy about this sudden influx of ballistic attention, Sinjin fires back at n.i.r.a., getting her for both damage. Jones's reaction doesn't trigger because of Sinjin's silencer bond. If he'd shot Jones, then it would trigger, but as long as he's firing at n.i.r.a., it's fine. His second shot also hits for another pair of damage. He's pretty deadly when he's not busy wrangling robots. Wiseman pulls away from n.i.r.a. to support Arlen. Her reaction attack sails harmlessly behind him. With a bonus green die for outnumbering the Raider Outlaw, Wiseman's nail board attack breaks twice the amount of armor she has, but it only gets 1 point of damage through. Arlen's turn is up next, and his machete attack does close her out though. Even though the AI is supposed to prioritize non-NIRA models, she is right there, and he can't get any other attacks, so I think it makes sense for Arlen to shoot at her, which he does, or at least tries to since he crit fails. Turn 4 ends, and another Raider is off the board. Sinjin and n.i.r.a. are on opposite sides of the board, each facing down a pair of angry tarberry farmers. The event for turn 5 is Raider Radio.
It's Red Eye here, running Raider Radio. You love it, and you know it. Don't forget, if you've got something you want everyone to hear, you're probably wrong, and whatever it is sucks. But if you insist, drop us a note, and we'll read it on air.
So, no in-game effect for this round. That's the second one I've rolled in this d20 this session. Good thing I'm not using it for attacking. Since the Raiders have even fewer models now, they retain the advantage. I activate n.i.r.a. and figure that while she's standing on that searchable, she might as well take a look at it. It's a danger. Great. Oh, it's actually the not danger called Good Fortune. She tests her perception and actually succeeds, so she gains 16 caps. Not knowing that those caps have monetary value now, she stops by the dumpster to throw them away, and then continues to hide out behind a wall so that mean ghouls can't get to her. Jones fires another barrage of garbage at Sinjin. The first attack hits, but clearly I was tired at this point because he should have blocked all 3 of those incoming damage. I tried a luck roll and that failed, but he didn't need to take it. I guess I forgot that the junk jet had a baseline of 2 damage instead of just 1. Whoops. The second shot was a miss on its own though. Sinjin keeps his eyes on the target and drills 2 more damage into n.i.r.a. with a double armor pierce. His next shot takes her out of the equation. He's done messing around. Like last turn, I decided that even though the AI is supposed to prioritize models that aren't n.i.r.a., it would take the rest of the game for Arlen and Wiseman to even get into attack range of Wiseman. Given that Arlen is a tech whiz, he'd want to try to neutralize n.i.r.a to figure out what was going on with her. So I decided in the interest of narrative and fairness to bend the rules somewhat, even to my own detriment. Which meant that I got to feel extra smug when Arlen moved up and crit failed on his attack. Due to n.i.r.a's positioning, Wiseman couldn't even get a shot this turn, so he moves up to be in a better position for next turn. With fewer models on the field, turn 5 wraps up pretty quickly. The event for the final turn is quiet. All reactions get a +2 bonus, effectively meaning that they don't take the usual penalty for being reactions. The Raiders just need n.i.r.a to survive in order to secure the win, and they get to keep the advantage this turn. So I run the math on what actions give her the best chance of survival.
Are you finished wasting my time, you filthy low-life scabber? 'Cause I'm getting bored, and when I get bored, I get violent.
That's right, n.i.r.a charges in. She's not going to knock Wiseman out, but this way she'll force Arlen to either shoot into melee or join it, which would negate one of the 4 incoming attacks. And Wiseman is not as good with the nailboard as he is with the pistol, so the solution, as always, is to choose violence. Her attack doesn't even hit, but like I said, that's not what matters right now. Tired of ineffectually pitching garbage at someone wearing thick combat armor, Jones charges Sinjin and finds the perfect spot to dig the switchblade in, getting 2 damage through, which ignores the armor entirely. Understandably unhappy about getting stabbed, Sinjin opts to fire his revolver in melee. The first hit is a crit, which gets 2 damage past Jones's broken armor. The second shot also puts up a pair of damage. It's not enough to knock Jones out, but definitely enough to make him rethink the choice he just made. Now, for the moment of truth. Arlen charges n.i.r.a and gets 2 green and 2 black dice, and crit fails out. So no damage coming from that direction. Wiseman's attacks are the last ones of the game. His first one is massive, rolling 3 damage and breaking 4 armor. He didn't even need that extra green die from outnumbering. It all goes through, so n.i.r.a has only 2 left, and Wiseman has 1 more attack to go. So it all comes down to this. He rolls, and he crits. But he doesn't get any extra damage, so even though all her armor gets broken, only 1 more damage gets through. n.i.r.a lives. And that is the end of turn 6. The Raiders have delivered all 4 of their insults, and n.i.r.a survived to the end, albeit just barely. Sounds of more raiders coming from the south convince the Ghouls that at this time it's prudent to cut and run. Though she is a bit more battered than before, n.i.r.a's field test was a resounding success. She was a great distraction lure and did a good job of disrupting the battlefield to give the ambush an extra push, though at some point Sinjin will need to find some more backup. All in all, this was a fun scenario. Other than the question/issue about that one insults effect, it worked pretty nicely. It was interesting not to have the raiders so focused on doing damage, but dealing with the position and activation of n.i.r.a. If it were me, I would say that the AI models ignore her for 1 round, just to make it so that the AI doesn't have to remove all the other models first. Basically to play it the way I did. For PvP, I think that maybe the insult should have sort of a reverse taunt effect. Models can target n.i.r.a, but if they could target someone else, they would have to take a penalty. I'd also be interested to see how the strategy would play out to have the targets bring 1 model with the lowest caps cost and simply hide them from n.i.r.a all game. The raiders wouldn't be able to kill them until after the insult was delivered, and just about any other model can outrun a Protectron. However, that would mean that they need to drop n.i.r.a with only 3 models in order to secure the win, which might be difficult. Who knows? It's worth experimenting with. That's it for now. Stay safe out there in the wasteland.